Maybe you're thinking about quitting and feeling guilty and asking yourself, are you just taking the easy way out, or are you doing something in an empowered way because you want to answer a calling and there's something more for you? So, the quick solution and the logical solution is, let me just take a sabbatical. It sounds logical. I'll just get some rest. I'll figure out some business ideas. I already have some ideas. I'll just go all in on a business. And if it doesn't work out, I can always get back to a job. But this time I'm going to get the right job because I'm just done with the switching. I am looking for some balance. I'm looking for good quality work, good culture. I want to be in a place where I feel like I can thrive, like I can be here, grow for the next 10 years. I get it. This is what everyone's really looking for. But as soon as you start thinking about this decision, the voice in your head can really creep you out very quickly. You ask yourself, maybe I don't have what it takes. Maybe I can't navigate office politics and I'll never make it beyond a certain point. What's the guarantee that next job could be worse, could be better? It is a gamble. And then the worst of all, the thing that really kills you and gets to you is, what if you just don't know how to be happy? When was the last time you were happy at work? So, what if you do all of this, take all the risk and everything, and then you're still unhappy? I get the fog and I get the confusion. And then when you do take the sabbatical, maybe the reality hits that, or now that you don't have the distraction of the job and you have all day and just yourself, and maybe you spent 1 2 months, you've gotten healthier, you're feeling good, and now the self-doubt really gets louder. The business starts feeling risky. You start thinking about the money, financial fear kicks in, and then you start wondering, maybe I should do something safer. Maybe I should just get back to a job and then figure something out. Or should I just get another degree, maybe get a PhD, this time from Stanford? But the thing is that this is all coming out of, fear. The fear is driving it. So today's episode, this is Rich, Free and Limitless with Mansi. Welcome. I am someone just like you. I've done my engineering MBA because checked all the boxes, got onto the corporate track, worked with great brands like Accenture, Coke, Genpact. Amazing work. And then I was doing all the right things, but I was constantly finding myself in this fog. Like, is it me? Or is it this job? Or is it this role? Or is it this company? Or is something just wrong with me? It would go on and on and on. And I finally one day decided it was enough. I'm going to find my way out of this fog. So I started looking for answers. And then when I got onto this journey, it led me into a lot of deep personal work and eventually into coaching. So now I work with people just like us, high achieving professionals who are craving something more, but also they're stuck in self doubt and they're navigating this sort of messy middle of the career transition, and you're kind of done with all of the generic career advice out there. Follow your passion and the craftsman mindset, and yeah, it makes sense, but then how do you really apply it to your everyday, and how do you know that you're not kidding yourself? It can get very murky. So, this is the platform where I have more of these conversations. And today's conversation is so important. I already got a ping from a friend. It's like, it's just me. Yesterday, I was looking at PhD programs from Stanford, and I get it. Like, this is a relevant conversation to have. So, let's clear the confusion. Today, I'm going to share with you a very clear 6 step diagnostic that you can apply to yourself, or maybe just sit with a friend who can be a neutral observer and talk to you and get super clear on what's really going on. where does the accountability lie? Because usually it's not just you, right? You're working in a system. So yes, the role has a the role fit has a role to play, the manager has a role to play, the company has a role to play, the culture has a role to play, you as a person, your dynamics, your nature, your strengths, everything is all like a big hodgepodge. So today we're gonna help you sift through all of that mess, and we're going to help you assign accountabilities of what is going wrong where, so that you can walk away with a clear plan and you can fix it. Okay, so here's the harsh truth: the sabbatical gives you rest, it cannot give you clarity. It's like one of those, I'm going to use a lot of marriage dating analogies, so just get used to it. But I like comparing the career with love and relationships. So, like how the couples go, let's go on a break. It's kind of like that. But if you didn't plan what you're going to do with the break, or how you're going to repair the rupture and how you're going to build something back, you're just going to end up in going separate ways. And that's exactly what happens in a sabbatical. You get the rest, but you don't get the clarity, you don't process anything, and you still don't know what you want. So you just kind of stumble back your way and kind of hope that this time you made the right decision, that the next relationship that you found, this is the right person that you found, but you didn't do any of the inner work that you needed to do to be a better person in the next relationship. You just decided, okay, I'm just going to change the person, get a new person, and then hope that things work out. It doesn't work like that. I'm sorry. Okay. So let's get into this. The work-life audit. 6 questions that you can ask yourself when you're in the fog and when you're questioning everything. This will help you sift and separate the dark clouds. Okay. So the first one, ask yourself, and we're going kind of outside in. Okay. So we're going to look at, if everything outside is fine, then we know that there is no other place to look for but within. That's the philosophy of this framework. The first one is, do you believe in what your company is building? Do you feel proud of what you're contributing to? So ask yourself, do your values align with what the business stands for? For me, for example, Coca Cola was an amazing place. I was mentored amazingly well. It had an amazing culture, but I really couldn't get behind the drink. It was no longer in alignment with who I wanted to be. I found it too sugary. It was difficult for me to get behind promoting this as a lifestyle. So you might find yourself wondering, what is the point of all of this? I don't even see the point. If that's the question coming up for you over and over again, please understand that means that you're craving more meaning and more purpose, and it's time to get into an organization or an industry. And I'm not saying get into non-profit or get into climate change, because that's a worthy cause and sugary drinks are not. No, it needs to have some kind of personal meaning and significance to you. For example, when I got into data and analytics, that I liked because that was kind of, I felt the difference that I was making in a marketing manager's life, for example, or in a business person's life. That's how I was looking at it. So it's really up to you, for you to figure out what is it that holds meaning for you and what you might like working in. Okay, the second, this one's tricky and it's messy. The manager and the team dynamics. Here's the bottom line. What matters is, how do you feel right now? It's possible that you have the best manager in the world and the best team, but somehow, for whatever reason, you don't feel supported and you don't feel safe and you don't feel like this person champions your growth, or you don't feel like you can trust your colleagues. You don't feel like you belong there. If that's what's happening, we've got to go with the experience that you are having. And if you continue to have this experience over and over again, then yes, we need, and you can see that everyone else is having a good experience. in your team. And in general, there's a part of you that lets you know that yes, this manager is okay, he's safe or she is safe, and I can trust this person as a leader. But there's something in you which is making you really uncomfortable, and you find yourself in these dramatic situations. Then it's time to look at what are your personal patterns and maybe find that in therapy. Because, for example, I had problems with almost all of my managers, irrespective of how good they were, because I had a problem with authority figures. I was just, and that was a childhood thing that I had. So I was just in general afraid of authority figures. So I could never really be myself, I could never open myself up. And that kind of never created the kind of mentorship bond that I was craving for from a manager. But the fact is that I was blocking it myself. And I had to go back and do my inner work to get comfortable with understanding that, okay, this person is safe, and then regulating my own nervous system around it so that I can adjust better. So these things, you're the best judge of the situation. It is going to be a, there is no toxic situation which is one sided. That's the unhappy truth. There is, if even if there is a toxic culture, trust me, there is a role you are playing to reinforce that toxic culture, because that cannot perpetuate without your participation in it. And I know it's tempting to feel like you're the victim in this story, and that you have no choice, but you always have a choice. It's just about you recognizing that choice and being able to establish the right boundaries. And if you're seeing that your boundaries are being repeatedly violated, then that's a clear red flag. It's a sign to get the hell out of there. So I know this can be tricky, but this is something that you really got to look both inward and outwards and decide what is really working. Essentially, you want to tune into the feeling in your stomach, like your gut can genuinely tell you if you're feeling safe. If you genuinely enjoy going to work, that's a good sign. But if you kind of dread your manager's calls, or in the morning when you wake up and you know you have to go to work and you can feel the sinking feeling in your stomach, that's a sign that something is off and you've got to work through it. Okay. All right. The third is the role fit. Now, it's possible that you're working for a worthy cause, you're in an amazing team, but the role that you have is not leveraging your strengths. And this can again happen. We are very prone to this as high achievers. Why? Because we are, somewhere, if you can go back to B school and remember the time when there were investment banking jobs and there were consulting jobs and there were marketing jobs and there were gen man jobs and all of that stuff. I don't think any of us were talking about, okay, what are my strengths? What is the lifestyle that I want? What are my sort of career anchors? Do I like having more technical proficiency? Do I like working with people? Do I like talking more? Or do I like to be in one place and do my own thing? I don't think any of us were having this conversation. It was like, that's the most highest paying job. If you can make the cut, you go there. You don't go anywhere else. So what that does is it kind of sets us up to with this belief that if you've got to struggle for it, it's worth it. And if it's coming easy for you, then it's not worth it. And that's how we kind of micro decisions over time. We continue to keep choosing the challenging role, the challenging department, the challenging way to achieve the goal, the challenging strategy, and we just make our life full of challenges. Because when we are struggling and we are like really striving, it makes us feel like, yeah, I'm a fighter, look how hard I work, and I deserve this, and all of that stuff. But maybe this is the biggest learning that I have had, and the one paper that made a huge difference, and it was a turning point in my life, was this piece in Harvard Business Review. Peter Drucker wrote it in 1970s, and he talked about aligning to your strengths, not worrying too much about your weaknesses. Double down on your strengths. Address the weakness when it becomes a constraint, but just double down on your strengths. And as soon as I started doing that, life got so much easier, because now it wasn't like I was struggling for the basics. Now, if I'm in my field of competence and if I encounter a challenge, it's exciting for me. I don't feel it's a good kind of stress. It's not the bad kind of stress where you feel pressured and you feel pressured to perform and you don't feel good enough. So again, it's a choice that it's it's one of those judgment things that you have to make about yourself. Are you someone who tends to choose the hard way? Then maybe look at alignment with your strengths and start choosing an easier way out and asking yourself, how can I make it easy? Or if you're someone who tends to always play it safe and stay in your comfort zone, it's time to ask, okay, where is my edge? Where can I grow? And how can I grow? In general, an easy rule is if you feel incompetent, and I mean incompetent, like you're really struggling in 30-40% of the job, more than that, most probably this role isn't a great fit. Now, I remember the first role that I had, which was area retail operations manager, wherein I was required to handle 18-20 stores. It wasn't really in my like, I'm an ideas person, I'm a thinking person, I'm not really an execution people person. So for me it was way out of my comfort zone. And so when you put yourself in that outside your comfort zone, then you've got to make sure that the culture is good. You have a supporting manager or the mentor who understands you, understands your strengths, and is able to guide you to channel your strengths to do better in that role. For me, that came really difficult, and for 1.5 years of my life, I cried a lot. But I'm really glad that I did that role because it gave me a flavor of execution. It taught me a lot about people and working with people. So it's really worth it, especially if you're in the beginning stages of your career. Really put yourself out there, and if you are feeling incompetent more than 30-40% of the time, I would just say give yourself a little grace, get yourself more support and more mentorship than a normal person, because you are really operating at your edge. It's time to be nicer to yourself and take better care of yourself instead of beating yourself up and pushing yourself and pressurizing yourself, you know? So the big question is, does my work energize me or drain me? If it's energizing you, great. If it's draining you, you need to look at how much of your work is draining you. And if it's a lot, like if 80% of your work is kind of draining you, you're not in a great situation. And please understand there is work drain and there is the drain that comes from drama, that comes from your manager not treating you well, or you not feeling safe, or there's leaky energy happening somewhere else in your life. So it's important to really be careful about how you evaluate the drain when it comes to work. Here, what I'm really referring to is the intrinsic nature of the work that you're supposed to be doing, what drives results, and ask yourself the kind of person I am and the kind of person it takes to succeed in this role, how much of that is a match. If it's a good match, you're good. If it's not, think about changing, think about pivoting. Um, okay. Okay, the next one, the fourth one, this is now we're moving inward, as you can see. This is about your life situation. Now, it is a common tendency that, look, our career is one thing that we do not, uh, we feel like it's in our control. So when our personal life is short, or when there's a health issue or something else is going on, and we don't want to deal with that stuff, like you're having relationship problems and you don't want to deal with it, guess what you're going to do? Your work is going to become your escape route, and you're going to spend all your energy in trying to fix work. And maybe that's not really the problem. You're just trying to fix something that that didn't need fixing in the first place. So really get honest with yourself and look at where is your energy going. Are there places which are taking an emotional drain on you? Maybe it's a health issue, maybe it's your parents not doing so well, or maybe it's personal relationship problems that you're having, or maybe it's just the way you work. It could be a problem. Like, are you resting enough? Are you sleeping well? Or are you just kind of revenge procrastinating? And again, revenge procrastination is also a clear sign that whatever you're doing during the day, your work is clearly not lighting you up. There's something off anyway happening there. So it's time to get kind of, but everything is fine and you're just kind of, you know, numbing out or binging away for whatever reason. It's time to get honest and clear about what is it that you're really numbing yourself from, and is this career situation really needing an intervention, or is it something else that you need to address right now? And maybe you're better off keeping your career at an even keel while you figure out the rest of your life. Yeah. Okay. The fifth one, and this one again is a sneaky one, and it's an important one for you to understand. I call them career injuries. What do I mean when I say a career injury? So think about things that have happened in the past in within your career tenure where you felt you know it's still kind of bothering you, it bugs you that this person treated you a certain way, or you feel like you failed at something, or everyone else got onto something but you kind of ended up doing something else, and so now you feel kind of left behind. These are what I call micro injuries, and when you don't process stuff like that, it distorts your view, your self image, how you see yourself, and what choices are available to you. Example, this is from a live client that I'm working with right now. She um, she had a couple of instances where her team gave her bad feedback, like they said that you're micromanaging, you're hypercritical, and things like that. Now, is it true? Maybe yes, but the fact is that if the meaning that she attributed to that is, I can never be a good leader, I shouldn't be working in teams, I should just go do my own thing and do it solo. So even when she's wanting to build an app based business, she's thinking, how can I do it all on my own? Like that's the extent, because the distortion, it's hurt her so much. But if we hold her in compassion, if she's someone who's has perfectionist tendencies, she's somebody who strives for excellence, and she comes from this high achieving background, then she is just leading other people how she leads herself. So if she's being critical of them, imagine how critical she must be of herself. So if she doesn't go and process this injury, and someone doesn't help her see that, look, it's your inner critic which is creating this pattern in your life, and let's help you become more self-compassionate in it, and let's help you develop better boundaries. And that, when she does her work, she starts to become a better leader. So it's not like, she can never be a good leader, but it's just that uh, she's just not been able to had the chance to process it. Similarly, I had a friend, like she did a business, she suffered a loss because of which she had to get back to work. In her head, all of that, she had written it off as a failure, as a major loss. She refused to see that, she made revenue. She refused to see that she was actually cheated and like she was a victim in this story. And she needed to hold herself in compassion. And there were all these experiences that she's had, it's given her skills and experiences which other people don't have. And that's not what she was prepared to talk about in the interview. In her head, it's a big blob of failure. So as soon as someone pokes in it, she is hypersensitive and she cannot tell the story right or position herself as a leader, position herself in line with her strengths. So your career injuries need to be processed. These aren't things that you can just brush aside under the carpet and move on with your career, saying that it just happens or it's just me. This is where a lot of the fog and the distortion really comes in, because you never could figure out where the accountability sits. Was it the manager? Was it you? And what was the interplay there? What role did you play and what role did they play? And what could you have done different? And what would you have expected them to be different? And only when you have done this kind of processing on your own, you're not you're going to be able to make clear choices. Because otherwise, if you're feeling betrayed, overlooked, unseen, unsupported, you're going to make choices which protect you from these injuries again. So, for example, that same client, why does she want to do solo? Because she can't take that hurt again. Like that's a part of her who's trying to protect her from further injury. So she's like, no, 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 I don't want to do any leadership roles. I'm going to do an IC role instead. Now imagine if she was an amazing leader, she had the substance for it. And because of these 1-2 distortions, she decides to take an IC path. Wouldn't that be like a big loss for her as well as the organizations that she's working with? So it's so important that you really look at what your micro injuries are and process them inside therapy, or I would recommend a career coach, because like therapy is kind of like a little bit of a blunt tool out there. Because but if you speak to somebody who has the context, like a career coach who comes from the kind of background that you come from, they're going to grasp it very quickly. Oh, this was a delegation problem. Oh, this could have been solved this way. Oh, this was you not avoiding a difficult conversation. And that way you can fast track a lot of the clarity and get there faster. Okay, so let's look now, because of these all, now we've looked at the 5 big dynamics that are happening, and those are a lot of things which are interplaying with each other. So every one of us develops some kind of common coping mechanisms that to cope with the situations that we find ourselves in. So common coping mechanisms can be just overworking. Let me just work because this way I feel I'm in control. So maybe you find it hard to shut the laptop down, or maybe you you're you're because of some injury you had or some kind of inner critic that's driving you, you have a hyper control tendency, which means it's very hard for you to delegate, it's very hard for you to ask for support, and you're doing everything on your own. So you're kind of being hyper independent, and that is sort of sabotaging you. Or it could just be avoiding mental flow fog, or a sneaky one is upskilling in different ways. Let me learn AI, let me learn another course, another program, and maybe that is going to fix my problems at work. It's just understand that these are all just distortions. That is not your personality. And as soon as you resolve and get clear on the previous 5, and you're able to heal some of the childhood patterns, I would say, which have caused these coping mechanisms, because these coping mechanisms didn't come out of the blue as soon as you entered the workforce. They were always with you, and that this is how you've coped with life all your life, and that is what is showing up in your work life. So be wary of distortionary beliefs that you might have picked up, like I'm not cut out to lead, or I'm not strategic enough, I'm not a clear enough thinker, or I'm always an outsider in the team, I don't work well in teams. Like these are all just limiting beliefs. They are not permanent, they are not your personality. It's not because you're an introvert, it's not because you're broken. Okay, so now, from a place when now that you've done all of this and you know, like you can see the distortions and you can see the interplay, now evaluate your options. And you have many options, and quitting can be your last option. And I'm not saying quitting is a bad option, it is an empowered choice for sure. So you can just take me, if it's just admin personal stuff, or you just need some time to figure out some things personally, just take some time off, focus on that stuff, and then come back. Or if you're just feeling burnt out, like you've been going on and on and on for years and years and years, and now your system just needs that break, take the sabbatical guilt free and then come back. Parallelly, definitely invest in therapy or coaching to process any injuries that you've had. Um, so that you can take a new job in the same field with maybe better leadership, or just look at a role change or a team change if it was one of the team dynamics or a role alignment that was an issue for you. You can take calls accordingly. They don't have to distort it, and they don't have to kind of complicate this further. Okay, now I want to talk to you a little bit about 3 tools that you have to recalibrate while you're in it, so that you don't have to resort to a sabbatical to kind of fix everything in one go. You don't have to do that. You can get therapy or coaching in parallel, and that's more recommended, because You're living the situations on a day-to-day basis. So you're not kind of processing out of memory, or it's not your story version. It's the raw stuff as it's happening, and that gets processed much better in a therapy or a coaching session. Second is there are tons of self-inventory tools out there that you can do. The one My favorite ones are the Gallup Strengths Finder, Edgar Schein's Career Anchors, and look at any values assessment. Get clear on what your strengths are, get clear on what is it that drives you, what motivates you at work, and what is really important to you. These kind of tools give you clear self-awareness. If it's something that you struggle with, this is an easy way to kind of bypass some of that work and get your answers. Third, invest in foundations of well being, because maybe a bad day or a series of bad days is just about you starting the day wrong. If you're not exercising, your sugar levels are not regulated, maybe it was just a sugar crash that you had, or lack of sleep, and that led to brain fog and mental fog, and that created relationship problems at work or other issues at work. So if you're not doing physically and mentally okay, like your brain chemistry is off or your physical biological chemistry is off, you've got to fix that first. That has to be your first port of call. And finally, look at your spiritual connection. Strengthen your spiritual connection so that you have more resilience. And when I say spiritual connection, like listen to spiritual stuff. I don't know what your version of faith is. It doesn't have to be religious or spiritual. It's up to you, but find your faith because it gives you resilience. It helps you move through difficult things in your life with a lot more ease and trust. Okay, I've already gone a little overboard, but this is worth talking about, so let's just talk about this. Drop the career scarcity stories. So, this is again, I'm going to come back to the dating analogy. Like how you meet these people, at least I meet them a lot in their early to mid 30s. That's where I am. Like I am late 30s and dating. So I hear this a lot. Like all the good men are taken. All men are bad. Men are assholes, and that kind of stuff. And if you talk to the men, they have similar stories. Like women are like this and that, all of that stuff. Guess what? Like none of these people are gonna ever find the relationship that they want because they don't even believe that it's possible. And that's the issue here also. If you believe that it's impossible to land a job which gives you impact, which gives you fulfillment, which gives you a good manager, which gives you balance, which gives you good culture, then you're never going to find it. If you believe it's impossible, how are you going to find it? You're not even looking for it. So drop those stories and start believing that yes, those jobs exist, and you can be the exception to the rule. Yeah, they may not be the generalized experience that everyone else is having, but you can have a different experience. And that has been my experience throughout. I have been in very weird places, but I have found myself in small oases where things are okay. And you can always find an oasis. So dial into your strengths and get clear on what's really important. Dial into the value that you bring to the table. I cannot emphasize this enough. You are the first person who has to be convinced that you do bring value to the table and you are an asset to any team and they would be lucky to have you. Same thing, any guy would be lucky to have you. Any girl would be lucky to have you. Self belief, genuinely. Then interview them when they interview you. Like, don't just be grateful. Oh my God, I wish they say yes. Oh my God, I wish he says, ask me out for a second date. No. If you found something is off, you are interviewing them too, and you can decline and opt out of that interview process at any points in time. So please just raise your standards and believe in the abundance that there is the right person or the right job for you, and you will find it. Because guess what? Like when you say no to the shitty stuff and the stuff that doesn't meet your standards, that is when you land the right stuff. And the universe has no choice but to give you that stuff because you're making it super clear. You're not giving out mixed signals. I'm okay for casual, but I also want commitment. No, none of that shit works. Get super clear on what is it that you want and go after it and keep your standards And the biggest thing that you can invest in, and for me, a big game changer has been the art of learning how to set boundaries, personal boundaries, and how to uphold them, and how to recognize it when somebody's violating it or when I am violating it. Because when you've had weak personal boundaries, you will also tend to not respect other people's boundaries. Makes you a shitty manager. Yeah. Okay, so summary, don't jump into a sabbatical, a degree, or entrepreneurship. Take the time to understand what is really going on, what are you solving for. There is no one silver bullet, so it's not like the switch or the role or something else is going to happen and it will solve all your problems. You, it's a system of things. You've got to look at it as a system, and you've got to build a support system for it. And finally, quitting can be an empowered choice, provided that the fear is not driving it. Or if you're not able to quit, even then the fear is driving it. Decide what is your fear telling you and listen to it. The other thing that I want to caution against is talking to a lot of people. Like, genuinely, don't talk to people, because I'll I'll tell you why. Because everyone has, you don't know what their values are. You don't know how their, what has shaped their life experiences. You don't know where they are headed, and you don't know whether you want to go where they are headed or you want to go where they have been. And that is why your best source of wisdom is you, and a neutral person like a therapist or a coach who can hold space for you, who can connect you back to your own wisdom and your own resource. So just really refrain from having tons of conversations with tons of people. It's only going to lead you to more confusion. It is not going to lead you to clarity, genuinely. Even if you're looking at career transition and you just want to find out what their job is, like, yeah, listen to them, but then don't ask them stuff like, on an average, how much does a person like this get paid, or how, what are the odds of success? No, those are just averages. You get to decide how much you'll earn. You'll get to decide how you want to approach it. Keep those things close to yourself. Don't believe and don't fall for like these kind of weird limiting beliefs. Okay, so we're at an end of this conversation, and I hope that this was useful. And if you're ready to drop the career struggle, but yes, I mean, even after all of this, if you're still wanting support, please DM me Inner Safety, and I will walk you through the steps of how you can work with me directly. Meanwhile, I have these conversations every week on my podcast and in my newsletter. So you can subscribe to it at limitlesswithmansi.com/newsletter. Subscribe to this, and you will get both the newsletter and the podcast every Sunday in your inbox, because clarity is power, my friend. Okay. Thank you for tuning in, and drop your questions in the comments. I respond to all of them. It was lovely talking to you.